Welcome to Shock Horror Auntie, where we look back over the history of ABC TV at moments that prompted outrage or pushed the boundaries at the time. The show's name is taken from a Daily Mirror headline from 1988 expressing horror that the ABC would broadcast a rock band performing completely naked on Andrew Denton's Blah Blah Blah. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about religion, angry interviews and homosexuality, which won't make Keith Moon happy.
Don't want anything to do with you Australian faggots. Now, will you please leave me alone, you great puffed up?
But before we start this ABC navel-gazing exercise, let's look at a scandal which literally involved navel-gazing.
It's a beginning of a new age of communication over the Equator.
It was 1968 and the ABC had joined up with Japanese network NHK for the first ever joint live via satellite TV broadcast. Over the Equator was meant to showcase each country to one another. This was the swinging 60s. Miniskirts, bikinis, flower power, psychedelic music and dances were part of popular culture in Australia.
I love it, it's cute.
So when the ABC included this live band in the broadcast, it seemed only fitting that there would be a bit of go-go dancing there too. But no one expected that the sight of a go-go dancer's navel would lead to outrage.
We had a very, very pretty young lady who was in a bikini who was going to be painted with daisies.
As she said, belly dance, she said, I can't belly dance. It wasn't a belly dance, I'm just moving to the music. On air, Johnny got caught with two cameras repositioning, and it was an 11-second shot. Shock horror.
This couple of seconds is all that remains of the infamous go-go dancer, as most of the footage has disappeared. It's not quite Miley Cyrus twerking, but the 11-second shot of that dancer sparked a huge furore. Australians were horrified that Japan had been exposed to such a lewd and appalling representation of our country.
Next morning in the newspapers, my God, this disgusting display, lapse of taste.
The ABC memos flew.
A serious error of judgment was made. The inappropriate nature of the item.
Monday morning I went into the office and the phone rang 3 times asking for my resignation. I typed out my resignation because I was going and went up to the manager and said, there is my resignation. And he said, look, all I can say is I'm glad my wife and daughter were out of the room when that shot came on air.
Johnny Walker was suspended from directing for 6 months.
And that to me was very kind of traumatic in a way. To get stood down for something that you believe in.
And very unfair.
Liberal MP Don Cameron called on the minister responsible to investigate the incident and to seek an assurance from the chairman of the ABC that our nation would never again be subject to such humiliation. Even the Prime Minister's office weighed in on it.
I got hate mail. Some church teachers union wrote to me and it was disgusting and all that. And I got a hate mail internally from someone in the ABC saying they're ashamed to belong to the same institution.
So how did it actually go down in Japan?
Students had picketed the NHK studios in Tokyo, demanding to know why they didn't show real life like the Australians did.
So the Japanese were outraged that they didn't have belly dancers, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
I think they're upset that theirs wasn't as lively as ours.
As we've seen, the children of Japan are full of energy at play or at study.
Japanese viewers didn't seem to care. They were too busy complaining that the Japanese broadcast was too conservative.
Overall, though, pretty dull television. Apart from Johnny's bit.
Later in the show, when your kids have gone to bed, we'll show you what parts of the female anatomy we can now show on the ABC.